And welcome back to another episode of Life Changing Challengers. Hey, you are in for a treat today because I have Deshaun Jackson on. He is Psych RN Fit. He calls himself the Psych RN Fit lifestyle coach. He's got his own coaching program. And this guy is not only an expert or been around the physical therapy field, but he's also an RN. He's a lifestyle coach and a fitness coach. So, Deshaun, how you doing today?
Very well, Brad. Thank you for having me on.
I appreciate that. So, Deshaun, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? Kind of where you grew up, what was the complement of your family, and what was it like to be Deshaun as a kid?
All right. So going back, I grew up in the greater Flint, Genesee County area. Flint has gained a lot of notoriety for good and bad reasons. It's why we're known. And growing up, I was split between two households, my mother's house and my godparents' house. And I literally had the best of both worlds growing up. Amazing childhood, loved to play sports. I literally could bounce in between two households. I'd get on my bike and ride from my mom's house down to my godparents' house, which is about a mile away. I stayed at both places. And there were some dynamics growing up in a small Midwestern town. I was one of the few Black kids in the community and adjusting and dealing with those issues. Other than that, I had a normal childhood growing up.
So, did you have brothers or sisters?
Only child.
Ah, you and me both, brother. I am curious because you mentioned that you were one of the few Black kids in the neighborhood, which I guess the neighborhood's probably changed since
Yes.
then.
Yes.
Yeah. So, how did that affect you? Especially you're an only child. You don't have brothers and sisters to lean on.
See, I grafted onto three brothers as I was growing up, and that kind of became my brotherhood as a young kid. But the dynamic in Mount Morris at the time, where there's relatively few African American children in the neighborhood, so when maybe me and my white friends would go to somebody's house and hang out, sometimes there might have been a different reaction between their parents and the experience I got. Or one of the ones I really hold on to, the town next to us, it was called Clio, really small town. They had a nice park down there. And as a kid, I would go to Clio Park to hang out with my friends. I hear people say, hey, nigger, get out of, you don't belong here. And, stuff like that. So I seen my counterparts didn't go through. So it created a dynamic, but like anything else, I navigated it.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. That's a very, let's say, healthy way of looking at it. I'm just as shocked because obviously we know what's going on today, right? See, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, 90s, I was in an area where it was pretty diverse. I, I want to say colorblind, but to me it was an adjective. You know what I mean? It was an adjective. It was like this person was Asian, this person was Black, this person was Laos, this person was Mexican. That was it. That was the adjective. And yeah, did they have if I went to my African American friend's house, was there a little bit of a change in culture there? Sure. But it wasn't enough that it like made a difference. It like really didn't make a difference. And then today it's just seems like it's overwhelming, which is worse because it just feels like we went backwards. You kind of feeling that same thing?
I feel like it is more prevalent in the way that we bring it up nowadays. On one hand, we'll say we want a colorblind society, but then on the other hand, we'll talk about how race affects us so predominantly in society. So I feel like we go back and forth between the two when we want to be a colorblind society versus we're saying these issues are race-related issues and they're a problem.
Are you feeling any impact on that today?
So for me, where it really came into play was when I came into nursing school. I was the only African American male at that program at that time. And I was the only 44-year-old African American male, predominantly with Caucasian females in the program. So there was some dynamics going through. For example, the one example I use is when it came time to study, the women had no problem with them clicking up to get into a group. Well, I'm a 44-year-old African American male. I might not fit your dynamic to come over to your house and to study with. So I had to work around some things.
Yeah, you know what? And I imagine it wasn't at that point, in my humble opinion, being around the healthcare industry, and I've been around it a long time, it probably wasn't the fact that you were 44.
It could be male, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that was probably it. So let's step back a little bit. So you said you played sports. You played sports in high school?
Played football growing up, wrestled for a little while, tried baseball, but I found my sport was football. I just love being able to hit people and figure out offenses. I love defensive linebackers, so that was my sport.
And that was high school. Did you take that into college?
I did not take it into college. Unfortunately, that's where mindset set in. I wanted to go to U of M. I knew I wanted to go to U of M. I wanted to go play football, but then I didn't have the mindset and the drive to follow through on those.
So what kind of mindset did you have?
I think that I thought things would just fall into place more. Way I might describe it is maybe I had more faith and less work at the time. And now my work ethic has changed. It is definitely more work focused versus faith. So at the time, I think I thought that things, I don't want to say were given to you, but you didn't have to work as hard for them.
So you mentioned faith. Was that something that you grew up in? Did you grow up in the church?
Grew up in the church. Mom raised me in the church, predominantly non-denominational Christian. So every Sunday, maybe Wednesday, a Bible study, we were at church.
All right. So you said you wanted to go to U of M. Did you end up
Yes.
going there?
So I did not go to U of M, but I kept it on my heart. Long story short, my godfather raised me for this passion, this love of U of M, and it stuck with me going into adulthood, a young male, always watching U of M basketball, football, going to the campus, loving the Ann Arbor area. When it became time to get into the nursing program, I knew there was one school to go to.
Oh, okay. So you went and you started it somewhere, and then when you went back to nursing school, you ended up going to U of M. So what was the first school?
Mott Community College for my physical therapy assistant degree. Graduated from Mott, worked for about 6 years, and then decided, had some things happen. Had a coworker tell me, Deshaun, you need to stay in your lane. And I kind of took that personal. So I decided that I wanted to go back to nursing so I could widen my lane and my scope of practice. My godmother at the time was going through some health issues, and she was a big motivator to push me into nursing. My ex-wife at the time was a nurse, and she was kind of motivating me and pushing me into nursing. All these factors were coming together.
So, okay. But you ended up not going to nursing school till you were 44. So there's a big span there.
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So, stepping back into my community college, I was for sure that I was going to be a physical therapy assistant. Like, this is what I want to do. I love working with people in the physical realm. And then I found that if I had a full-time job, I had to keep it because there was no guarantee of finding another one. And that was one of the factors that also pushed me into switching into U of M for the nursing, was because I never seen a nurse out of work that didn't want to be. There were plenty of jobs. They could go do anything they want. They could switch hospitals to different centers, to whether they work bedside or whatever the case. And so that was one of the big factors that said, I need to do more. I want to do more.
Right. So 6 years, you're talking what, you were 26, 27 by the time you left your first physical therapy assistant job.
I entered in U of M during the COVID at 40 years old.
Oh, okay. All right. So at 40 years old, did you end up doing physical therapy assistance all the way through till you went to nursing school?
I did 6 years of working full time. And then once I was into the nursing program, I still stuck with it just a little bit until I transitioned out.
Well, of course, got to still make money. It's just part of it, right? So tell me, so you were heavy into football. So I would assume then you just keep your discipline of going to the gym throughout that time? I mean, you were already doing physical therapy assistance, so you're already in that field of movement, kinesiology, exercise, I imagine. Did you just keep your discipline of going to the gym?
I lost it actually during my early 20s and 30s. It was very sporadic. I don't know what happened. I thought that you could maintain it, keep it. I just got lazy. And so I was working out every couple of years. I'd go back 30 to 60, maybe 90 days, and then I'd fall off again. 3 to 4 months back, 30, 60, 90 days, fall off again. And then once I got into physical therapy assistant school, I started to stay consistent. And it's been about a 10-year run of consistency, working out, staying dedicated, and using this to help further the lifestyle brand.
So let's talk about your mindset there, because that's probably the biggest thing that's going on today is people do the exact same thing that you do. Now you're 10 years in and it's a habit, you keep going. But back then, that's probably most prevalent in today's society, is that people start and they continue, and then all of a sudden they fall off just for life reasons or injury. And then it takes a while, and maybe a year later they'll try again and they'll come back. But now you've been consistent for 10 years. So can you tell us what the mindset difference was?
I wish I could tell you the day, the time, the year that the flip switched, but it just started little by little. I was working as a physical therapy assistant out at Lapeer, Michigan, and there was a gym close by. And I started going every day, little by little, 40 minutes. Then it started to an hour, then an hour and 15 minutes. Switched gyms, stayed dedicated there. And it became habitual that my body, my mind needed it. If I had coffee in the morning, I knew the gym followed. It was the next logical step. So at that point, it is like anything else, whether it's procrastination becomes a habit or something healthy becomes a habit, it just became an everyday process.
I get it. And you know what? I've always talked about that with some of my clients is that, and most of them will say the same thing. And most endurance athletes, especially in Florida, we're morning, most of us we're morning habitual exercises, right? So here in Florida and Tampa, yeah, most of the year you want to be you want to be working out by 6 a.m. minimally, if not even before then. So we're habitual like that. And it just happens to be. I liken that to like brushing your teeth, just like you said with coffee. You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, that's what you do. It's just part of it. And it's interesting because when I take on a client, they get a little bit concerned when they see on their plan that it's 7 days. I'm like, well, you have to dig in. Right. It's not all the same effort level, right? To keep you on that habit, right? So you have your days that you work out long, you have your days that you work out hard, and then you have your recovery days, which are still a workout, but it's much less intense. But to keep that habit, you have 7 days. That, one of those days might be go foam roll, do some yoga poses, stretch for a little bit, and you're done. And then some of those days is you got an hour and a half with freaking intervals in between. And you have to understand that, but it's to keep you on that habit. And it tends to work. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're going to be thinking about, oh, tomorrow, yay, I got a recovery day. Oh, tomorrow I got an hour and a half with intervals. Oh God, so, but I love that aspect of it. Before we talk about how you actually got into lifestyle coaching, which is really, really I want to talk to about and get more into that and your methodology. Can you give us an idea of what your splits are for the week?
Yeah. So I'm on a push pull 3 day legs back chest program with arms on my chest and back day. So I've been on that for about a year and a half. I was doing a 5 day split, every body part, 5 days a week, and then I'd throw in a hit session on Saturday. The reason for the switch was because I signed up for a coach who put me on the 3 day push pull program. I do like that. I find that it does get a little repetitive for me as I age, some elbow, knee issues. So I might find I have to throw in a cardio day, give that elbow a rest, give that knee a rest, and then pick right back up. So sometimes it turns into a 4 day split if I need to give the body part a little bit of a day off.
Wow, that's great. And I love that, just to give some ideas, a push pull and then a day of cardio. What is your favorite form of cardio?
Burpees, hands down. I'll take the
Really?
hardest. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For me, a burpee workout in my workout day would be 200. A burpee of 100 would be a quick cardio session before I jump into a full blown workout.
Wow, 100 burpees. Oh my God. Hey, listen, I will run 50 miles before you tell me to do 100 burpees.
That's how I feel about running 50 miles.
All right. So okay, so you're physical therapist assistant and now you're an RN. What was your specialty as an RN?
I work in a psych facility. It's a partial hospitalization program for adults and youth. It's a day program where they get there about 9 a.m., leave by 3, have education classes, therapy, and see the doctor.
This is talk about all around. No wonder you're doing what you're doing, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Is that you had it right? You've got physical therapy, kinesiology, moving, injury prevention, injury recovery. Then you walk into mental total mindset because this is you're into that mental health side of it. Oh, by the way, I love the fact that you have a coach.
Yes.
Some people are like, hey, I'm a coach, I help people get fit. And I have got my own coach. I'm the same way. I hire a coach whenever I'm ready to start when I'm getting ready for a race. I hire a coach as well. But my methodology, I know will work for me, but I also get, not only do I get somebody that's holding me accountable to a certain point. I don't like that ability. I feel like the accountability part should be on the athlete, but I see the reason why people would like that, why people like that accountability. But I get an education and it changes, if I use my own methodology to train myself. First of all, you get like, I'm going to go organic, right? All right. I know I need one of these days, one of these days, one of these days. So, well, maybe today we'll do this. So maybe today, and then it ends up being inconsistent as far as your workouts go. You'll get your workouts in, but I love the idea of challenging my body to do something different. Like I had one of my coaches was big on like speed workouts. And when usually like I only profess one speed workout a week, he had me doing like up to three with a tempo workout and then two long distance workouts, right? That was much different for me. You know what I mean? And then the way that we were doing tempo workouts, where it's like 1 mile at pace, half mile out of, off pace, and then 3 miles on pace, and then 2 miles not on pace, and then, easy. And it was definitely a much different way of doing things. I had another coach that was a lot shorter distance and a lot speedier intervals. And then I had somebody else that was more like me, which, tended to do a lot of long miles, and then you just added a couple of intervals within the long miles. So that was like much different, so, and what you mentioned was perfect. I love that. So you did a 5 day split. Now you're doing push
Yeah.
pull, much different. So you're getting muscle confusion, which was coined by Tony Horton uh, for a long time. And I love Tony Horton. I think he's brilliant. Um, and I did the 90, was it P90X when it
Yeah,
first
yeah.
came out? That was a blast. I thought it was fun. Anyway, so what got you started actually, with helping out with clients?
It was kind of like you said. I had the physical therapy assistant degree. I've worked with patients with hip replacements, knee replacements, injury prevention, muscle recovery, multiple different settings. And then working now in mental health, where predominantly I teach mindset, I teach macronutrition, I teach exercise in mental health. And it was just a combination of you can combine this knowledge and you can do something with it. And so I find that every few years, I need to switch up careers, or I need to push the envelope a little bit, or whatever that may be. And so between PTA to nursing, there was like 6 years. Now between nursing and lifestyle, it's about a year and a half. So I find I keep shortening the distance in between careers to up my game.
Nice.
Not full time. I still work as an RN and I see clients out after work.
Oh, sweet. Sweet. So tell us a little bit about what happens when you first get a client and then introducing them to your methodology. What does that look like?
First, we start with the onboarding process. We bring you on and we talk about what your goals are and what you're trying to do and how the program can help you specifically, what you need to do. And then wherever that, let's say it's body recomp, we're going to set you up with a program 6 days a week, 7 days a week, working on body recomp. We're going to talk about your mindset to the program. What's hindered you prior to? What's some of the blocks going into that might be that we need to discuss and work around? And what has your macronutrition look like? What's your prior exercise experience? Any injuries that we need to work around? So that's how we start the onboarding process. And within the next 2 weeks, once our client has started, we'll make some final adjustments before this is the plan we're sticking to. This is what we're going to run with for the next month, 3 months. And that's how it goes.
Okay, great. What do you find is the biggest hindrance that people are coming to you with as far as not staying on the exercise program or in general?
So the way I describe that is I don't care whether their issue is related to exercise, whether it's related to macronutrition. Typically, it's all revolved around their mindset and how they're looking at whatever the obstacle is in front of them. So for me, it's their mindset. I signed up with my coach because I needed something or a motivator that I wasn't doing on my own that somebody else could help me with. So I assumed they're signing up with me for the same way. There's something they couldn't stick to or have had issue with, so I need somebody to help me. Because I'm going to assume that if they didn't need the help, there ain't no reason to call me. If you've been doing it yourself and you've got your macronutrition dialed in, you've got your exercises dialed in, most people aren't reaching out for help. So that's where I start. I need to find out where your goals are. Let's dial it in from there and get you where you need to be.
So as far as macronutrition goes, what is your favorite tool that you assign your clients?
For me, I would say it's the MyFitnessPal app. It is you holding yourself accountable. Are you weighing? Are you tracking? What are you putting into your mouth daily? Because what I find is if you have an issue with weight, calories in, calories out. And if I ask you, what are your macronutrition, and you can't tell me, well, you're guessing, or you don't care and you've just been eating blindly. So to me, we need to dial in that macronutrition. What you're putting in your mouth is essential.
I love MyFitnessPal. I think it's the bomb. Does it have problems? Absolutely, it's got problems, but there's not an app out there that doesn't. It is the most populated database that you're going to be able to find. You can literally get the barcode and it'll pop everything right up there with ease. I am a big fan of MyFitnessPal. I also use another SaaS program called Training Peaks, is how I talk to my clients, how I give them their workouts. And then most people, I make them get a watch. It's a staple. It's got to happen. And everything on their watch automatically goes into Training Peaks, but is also linked into MyFitnessPal. So when they plug in their macros and their nutrition, the burned calories is also included. So it worked out, and then the only thing they really have to do is put in notes and their nutrition. Everything else is coming by the watch. So it's really great. And if they leave their watch on all the time, so it gets my sleep, it gets my HRV, it gets pretty much everything. So, and then it's all loaded into MyFitnessPal along with Training Peaks, so that, when it tells you, okay, in order for you to get your 750 or 500 calorie deficit, which is kind of like where I maintain my people do, right? Like if they're looking to lose weight, 500 to 750, I don't want them more than that because they end up going into fat hibernation after a few days of that. So I like to keep it at between 500 and 750, which I'm going to ask you about what yours is here in a minute. So if they've burnt 750 calories already and their BRM is their the BMR is their basal metabolic rate is 2000, so it's 2750. So now they can look at it and go, oh, well, if I'm only supposed to do 750, so I got to eat 2000 calories, right? And then with their macros. So they know that with the burn, they actually have more that they can eat. Now, those days that they don't work out, or they're only doing a short workout and they only end up burning 200 calories, well, then they got 200 calories. But at least they can see that right ahead of time. Another greatest thing about working out in the morning, because also it's already burned. So that's mine. What's your methodology on weight loss as far as using MyFitnessPal?
Well, I also key them in on my Trainerize app. It connects with MyFitnessPal, so it will log into, when they log into Trainerize, they can put everything into, and it's connected to MyFitnessPal. So I can see their MyFitnessPal, I can see their workouts on my Trainerize app and everything that they're loading or putting in. So what's the question again?
Oh, it's just your methodology on weight loss.
Let's say I have a female, 5'8", 180 pounds. We're trying to body recomp. I'm going to keep her at anywhere between 1,300, 1,400 calories for 3 weeks or more. Let's see where your weight comes. I want to keep you between the week, maybe 2 to 2.5 pound weight loss from Sunday to Sunday. And then if you're making progress, we're going to keep you there. Let's say you go up and over or haven't lost any weight. We're going to bring it down 100 calories. We're going to bring you to 1,300, maybe 1,250. Little by little, I want to bring you down 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week, give or take, what client I'm working with.
Okay. So how do you determine so I'm using 1400. I would believe that that's probably that their BMR is probably what, 1700 maybe.
Yeah.
So how do you determine their BMR? Is it mostly just basically an online calculator, or
It is an online calculator. Honestly, for me, I don't get caught up in the BMR unless I have somebody who is specifically, I have a client who's training to get on stage. They're going to be way more accurate than somebody who is just in a lifestyle and I want to lose a few pounds. So for me, I'm using the scale as an indicator. I'm using the pictures as an indicator. I'm using their feedback as an indicator. And then I'll have them do something specific. I need you to go out and this hypothetical 5'8", 180 pound female, size 12. I need you to go out and buy a size 10 pants. Ones you can't fit in that you want to, because that's the goal. Because what's going to happen is in 3 weeks, in 1 month, you're going to all of a sudden go to try on those size 10s because you've been at 12 for 3 weeks and go, I can get in those now. So now we've got another marker, because it's not always going to show on the pictures. It's not always going to show on the scale. But all of a sudden, you get into those size 10 pants, that's a good indicator we're making progress.
I like that. That's fantastic. Oh, wow. I do the recom stuff, and endurance athletes look much different than bodybuilders and people that are looking for aesthetics. But I do have a few, and especially the women that I have, they like to look good, you know? So I use the mirror and the cookie test. If you can be somewhat bare looking at yourself in the mirror and eat a cookie, you're good. Wait, if you look at that and you can eat a cookie because you're looking at that going, yeah, I look good. I can have this cookie. They are
I
good to
like
go. There's no problem.
I like that.
But if they're looking at there and they're going, I probably shouldn't eat this, and they want to put it down, okay, let's figure out what that is and let's move on. Oh, it's a couple extra, it's an extra percentage, maybe 2% of fat. All right,
We can do
we'll
that.
figure that
Yes.
part out. I'll add a speed workout because that drops it. I'll add an extra like long day because that's a fat burner. That's a complete fat burner. And after 3 weeks, that 1% is gone. And then now they can sit there and they can eat their cookie.
Yes. I like it.
So yeah, that's always fun. I love it. So, but anyway, you are a big proponent of, I think the word is, what's the word? So incantations, or what's the everybody
Affirmations,
affirmations.
incantations. Yep, absolutely. Nobody validates you more than you. And working in mental health, one of the biggest things I see is the way people feel about themselves, or somebody says something negative to them and it tanks their self esteem. So I teach you're never going to get a group of cheerleaders sitting on your right shoulder cheering you on rah rah every day. You have to be that cheerleader on your right shoulder cheering you on every day. In 24 hours, we go through a level of emotions, whether they're low level, high level, we feel good or we feel bad. What I tell you is, in those low moments, you have to be able to pick yourself out of that and bring yourself to a high level, whether that's doing something you're good at and getting better, whether it's starting a new project you've never done before and getting better, whether it's increasing your exercise, whether it's your macronutrition you have, or talking about to yourself positively in a manner that's going to uplift you. I tell my clients use music. Music absolutely biohacks your mood. When working with patients in mental health, I ask them, what's the sad song you put on when you feel depressed? I said, do you know why you put that on? Because the melody absolutely taps into your mood. It works in reverse. If you are finding you are having a crappy day, put on that song that's going to have you in the middle of the dance floor dancing like nobody else is around.
I absolutely am a proponent of that. Matter of fact, and unfortunately, I can't find an app that does it anymore. I used to have an iPod alarm clock, and the iPod was automatically set to a song. So when I woke up, that song was my song. That was my jam. So I had no problem getting out of bed. I came out of bed dancing because that was my song. And if my song changed, I changed the song on the iPod. So absolutely a proponent to that. But I can't find a way to get my iPhone to wake me up with my jam. And I wish I could do that because now I use that as my alarm clock. But I think I just love that. Absolutely. The first thing. And I tell that to my friends. If you got a problem getting out of bed, put on your favorite song,
Yes.
start singing to it, and you'll get out of bed. You will. You definitely will. So yeah, I am a huge proponent of that. And then of course I have my people run with music. They're not allowed to do it during a race, but when they're out training, yeah, absolutely, they run with music. So yeah, I 100% believe that. But that's fantastic. Well, that's a lot of really, really great information. You have an Instagram account, and that's Psych RN Fit. We're going to put that in the show notes so that you can contact Deshaun when it's time for you to get a coach. He's going to take care of you, get you to where you want to be. From what I can tell, it's 100% online, and he will get you to where you want to go. This is not about where he wants to take you. It's about where you want to go. Everything is customized to you. I'm assuming that your preferred method is to slide into your DMs on Instagram.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay. And then, so I will also put his Facebook address in the show notes so you can reach out. And yeah, you got to reach out to Deshaun. And it sounds like that his coaching program is going to be amazing. He's got some great stuff. He's got some great content on Instagram. So you need to actually reach out and get your fit on and get that mindset going, which is going to help you the rest of you in all other parts of your life. Talking from somebody that also teaches, that also is big into mindset. I've seen people that have never run a 5K before, run a 5K, and then 2 months later, they end up getting a promotion. There is something about physical activity and mindset that is connected. The endorphins or whatever, the confidence is probably a big part of it.
I would agree. In fact, one of the examples I give, Brandon, you probably could test this more than I can. I tell my clients or patients, when you're watching the Boston Marathon, have you ever seen a depressed marathon runner?
No.
You don't. Depression does not exist in the same headspace when they are running. When you are doing a marathon or a triathlon, they might have depression or anxiety prior to. They might experience it afterwards. But in the midst of, they are in a zone. They are in their flow state, and depression and anxiety do not exist.
You're absolutely right. The minute they've done that first heavy lift, there's a smile, there's a sweat, there's something that's going on there. They're in that, the endorphins are hitting and things are going. So yeah, so reach out to Deshaun, get your coaching on, and check out his Facebook and his Instagram. If you are watching on YouTube, please go ahead, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you always know when we're dropping a new episode. And if you're on Apple or Spotify or any of those other podcast directory apps, give us a quick review. It doesn't have to be a good review. I'm good just to know that there's feedback. And if the feedback's there, I'll take it into consideration and we'll evolve the podcast so will be better. So help me out, and you can do that as well. I really appreciate it. But with all that being said, thank you very much. Thank you, Deshaun, and we will see you in the next one.